Hi everyone, thank you for waiting for us patiently. And I want to share a story about the candidate F, and the topic of my presentation is a ranger's silent wait. First, I want to introduce some basic information about candidate F. About 12 years ago, he was diagnosed with diabetes, and 5 years ago, diabetes caused kidney disease, and he started dialysis. And 4 years ago, he entered the transplant list, but he was passed over for many times. So nowadays, he is still waiting for the transplant. And now I want to introduce more details to you through his diary. Let's get into it. In this diary, candidate F's name is called Michael, and his wife is called Mary. That's just for you to understand easily. Firstly, 12 years ago, he was diagnosed with diabetes. Initially, he was quite scared, as we could see here. He wrote here like, but who knows what the hell the disease is really about, diabetes. But gradually, he calmed down and learned to live with it. And here we can know that, he said, we could know that the healthcare access was quite limited in rural areas. He wrote that hospitals should be available everywhere, whether it is in the countryside or in the city. And several years later, he asked the question in his diary, did I really faint on the farm? He couldn't accept the fact that he has been so weak. And here we could know that he wrote that with so many cattle and sheep, who will take care of them if I rest? So we could know that he was the main person who kept the whole family running, and he raised the whole family, so he couldn't rest. And 3 years later, he wrote here that I frequently go to the bathroom, and he was afraid that he would become a burden of his entire family. And here, on the last day of 2019, he had a beautiful dream. In the dream, he took his family members to a trip, and they had a good time. However, on this page of his diary, we could see that there's some stains left by tears. So what happened? We could know that here, he was told that he needed to do dialysis. So from here, we could know that diabetes caused the kidney disease, and he was told he needed to do dialysis. And here, in 2020, in June, he recorded his mood when doing dialysis. He wrote that dialysis didn't feel great. It hurt at first, but he had to get used to it. From now on, it's going to be my friend. And several days later, he wrote his mood, like he felt quite lonely, and the life in the hospital was not what he was familiar with. But he wrote that, although I was not used to this kind of life, I should be positive. I will never be bowed to the illness. And here we could see that there are some emojis, right? Seems like he is quite excited. So what happened? He entered the transplanting waiting list. He was so excited that he told himself to breathe steadily. And here he couldn't control himself to imagine the life after recovery. He wrote here that these kind of words and sentences, I want to, I can. I've never felt these words could be so beautiful. However, several months later, he was told that a patient with better match and more urgent conditions was chosen for the transplant. He wrote here that my head was in chaos. And the doctor told him that maybe there was some new matching kidneys available soon. And he wrote here that I should understand. And here, the time came to 2022, he wrote that a new matching kidney, wow, this time he is excited again, like some emojis. He told himself that, indeed, what meant to be will be. My previous anxiety were really unnecessary, just making trouble for myself. And here he told us to share the story of the fellow patients. The fellow patients congratulated him, and this was the first time he appreciated the scenery around the hospital. And although there were some dark and bare trees along the road, but the hidden mortality could no longer be concealed. However, like some days later, he was told that, how could this be unfair? He was told like he was passed over again. He shared some details, like I felt like I've thrown a punch at the one who told him this bad news, but actually he didn't do anything. He just stood there quietly and accept the reality. And here he also wrote that I had a feeling of being on the edge of hope, but he never reached the hope. Like in November of 2022, he was told that he was enlisted again, but this time he was not excited as he used to be. This time he was quite calm. And several days later, he was told again that the result is the same. He was passed over again. It seems like after all the ups and downs, he could no longer feel anything. And he also even asked himself, like, if he lived in a big city, would everything be better? And here we could know that the handwriting changed a little bit, right? Like the lines are heavier. It seems like he needs to take more efforts to write the diary. Unsurprisingly, he was passed over again. But this time, his kids were going to college next year, and he dreamed of like he could work and he could do something for his kids. But sadly, he couldn't. And this time, the handwriting changed again, right? Because this time, the person who wrote the diary changed. F could not keep the diary himself. He could not write. So this time, his wife wrote this for him. Now he was passed over for the 4th time. Right now, all he could do was just keep praying. So this is his diary I want to share with you. After reading his diary, a quote from The Theory of Justice came to my mind. The quote is, "The justice of a society is measured by how it treats those who are worst off." And actually, this is not a new idea, right? This concept has shaped the human civilization for several centuries. And justice is not meant to favor those who shine the brightest, but it is there to protect those who struggle and carry on in silence, in shadow, and in hope. So F is really an ordinary person. All he wants to do and he can do is just to live a normal life with his family. However, he is not just one man, one case. Behind them, there may be billions in silence. So, F is not just one person. He stands for the silent majority. And the silent majority deserve to be seen. So that's what I want to share with you about our candidate F. And this is our group members and some details about our group work. Thank you everyone for listening.